everyone, this is Jordan Buckingham, and I'm super excited to be with you today on this episode of Beacons of Light TV. Today what I want to talk to you about is your story, and I want to start with a particular story. One of my personal mentors that has made a huge impact in my life is named Tony Robbins, and a lot of you guys probably know who Tony Robbins is because he's been in the personal development space for a long time. But one of my favorite stories about Tony is Tony was working as a janitor, and he was poor. He didn't have money. He didn't have a positive mentality about money. Basically, he was just in a situation where he was literally mopping people's floors or mopping floors in offices where he worked. And he made a decision that he didn't want to be broke anymore. He made a decision that he wanted to change his life in a big way. So he realized something extremely powerful about the human mind from his personal mentor, Jim Rohn, and he realized that the value that is going to be coming into his life is going to be coming in through the story that he's telling himself about himself. So it sounds a little bit crazy to think about that you could tell a different story about yourself and have a different outcome come into your life, but it's exactly what happened to Tony, because basically he used a couple of things. One of them is called an incantation. Basically, he would just tell himself a different story about his situation until literally his mind would start populating his brain with opportunities and areas to be able to achieve the new story that he was telling himself. So one of his incantations is, God's wealth is circulating in my life. His wealth flows to me in avalanches of abundance. All my needs, desires, and goals are met instantaneously by infinite intelligence. For I am one with God, and God is everything. And guys, he would say that to himself going down the road hundreds upon hundreds, thousands upon thousands of times, because he was broke. He was poor. And he wanted to make a different reality for himself in the coming months and the coming years. And he realized the only way to do that was to start telling a different story about himself. So the question I have for you today is, what story are you telling yourself? What story are you telling yourself about where you currently are in your life, with your finances, with your physical body, with the relationships that are happening in your life, with the spirituality that you've got going in your life? What story are you telling yourself? Here's what I see most of the time whenever I'm talking to people. Most of the time, the story that people are telling themselves is based on their current circumstances. Typically, people are taking their circumstances and they're allowing that to populate their mind with their story, and that's the story that they're repeating to themselves and others all day, every day. Guys, here's what I know. You are either going to choose your story and intentionally focus upon it like Tony Robbins did, day in, day out, telling yourself a story that you intend to bring to physical fruition in your life, or you're going to let the outside world populate your mind for you. Those are the two options. You're either going to choose to be deliberate in your focus and tell a different story about your reality, or you're going to let the outside world govern what's going on in your brain. You're going to let your circumstances dictate where your focus goes. And here's what I know. Where focus goes, energy flows. So what I want to encourage you to do today is something that I do every single day. I sit down and I tell the story about myself that I intend to live in the future, even if it's not happening for me at the moment. I can tell you there have been times in my life that I was so broke that I went into the couch cushions at my apartment or wherever I was living to try to find change to go get food. I've been that broke in my life. And some of you guys are laughing. Maybe you have been that broke. Maybe you haven't been that broke. But guys, I've been there, done that. But even whenever I was broke, I remember back in the day, I started telling myself a different story about where I was going to be 12 months from now. And I started telling it in the present. I would say that I have made a promotion in my business, or I'm creating a certain amount of income, or I've got a certain type of relationship in my life. And I'll tell you exactly what I did as we wrap up this video today. I actually wrote a document called The Life I Choose. And that document had within it the entire life that I intended to build. It talked about my relationships in my life. It talked about my physical body. It talked about my finances, and it talked about my spirituality. It talked about an all-encompassing life, basically the life that I chose to live and what I wanted to live. And when I wrote that document, guys, none of that stuff was going on in my life. I didn't have money flowing to me. I didn't have all these positive relationships in my life. I didn't have the physical body that I wanted at the time and all this stuff. But I started telling myself a different story every single day, day in and day out. I read that document every single day. I told myself that story every single day, every single day, every single day, every single day. And here's what's crazy. Like the story was peeled off the paper and placed into my life, things began to happen. And it sounded crazy because it's like, what? You're talking about telling a different story about yourself now and experiencing a different life 12 months from now that's more in conjunction with your new story? That's exactly what I'm talking about. So what I want to empower you, encourage you with today is no matter where you currently are in your situation, no matter where you currently are in your spirituality or your relationships or your physical body or your financial situation, you can choose today to begin to tell a different story about the person that you intend to become. And you can state it in the present. And what I know is if you will continue to do that day after day, week after week, month after month, because of the way the universe works, and because of where energy goes, where focus goes, energy flows, I promise you, you will begin to see change in your life in a positive way. So think about that. What is your story? Are you buying the story of the people that are around you and buying the story of your circumstances? Or are you writing your own story and intentionally focusing upon it in your life to bring new, exciting things into your world? Guys, I'm Jordan Buckingham. Thanks so much again for joining me today, and we'll see you soon.